To order. We'll have a moment of silence and the pledge led by Mr. McMillan.
Face the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
We'll have a moment of silence and the pledge led by Mr. McMillan. Happy New Year and welcome to our first work session of 2021. Our January meetings were pushed forward 1 week due to winter break, so our regular session meeting will be next Wednesday, January 13th. You'll notice that Ms. Henderson will be attending electronically this evening. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Thank you for having me. Baby.
Okay, great. We can hear you. Great. To our first work session of 20. Can you mute? Our January meetings were pushed forward 1 week due to winter break, so our regular.
It's the delay.
Okay, Betsy, can you still hear us? Okay, just turn your mic on if you need us. Okay, and typically we have the agenda up on the screen, but so that Ms. Henderson, so that we can see her, we don't have that up there this evening, but we do have hard copies in the other room if anyone needs a hard copy of the agenda. Thank you to our law department representatives who met with us in executive session this afternoon at 4:30. Mr. Dupler, would you mind just giving the public an update on the purpose of executive session?
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. Happy to. An exception to the Tennessee open meeting law is when the board needs to meet with attorneys concerning legal matters. In this case, the Knox County Board of Education meets with the Knox County Law Department, and there's a couple cases that apply to that, both to pending legal matters and to anticipated legal matters, and that's Smith County Education versus Anderson and Van Hoosier versus Warren County Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Board members, as you are aware, Senator Becky Duncan Massey and I are hosting an electronic meeting this Friday, January 8th at 9 a.m. to provide an opportunity for us to speak with our state legislators about current and upcoming educational issues. The meeting will be live streamed on the KCS website and broadcast live on Comcast Cable Channel 10. I also wanted to mention that I will continue to follow up on our annual workshop discussion regarding the superintendent evaluation timeline and the plan to, and I plan to include that topic on our January 27th quarterly work session agenda. Do we have any changes to the agenda? Ms. Owen.
Madam Chair, if I may, I would like to add a very brief explanation of the documents that I handed out.
Okay. We can do that at the very end after regular. Okay. All right. All right. Anything else? Okay. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. McMillan, a second by Ms. Satterfield. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Mr. McMillan, would you like to share with us your thoughts on our vision and mission statement?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would. Since our mission is to provide excellent learning opportunities for all students, I wanted to share some up-to-date information from my district about the Career Magnet Academy, or CMA as it's commonly referred to. It was a short time ago that this school was being considered for possible closure. So I thought it would be very appropriate to spotlight their accomplishments. Now let me just stop there for just a second. There was one person in leadership on the board and some of the supervisors who were very much in favor of closing it because it was costly and it was not doing what we originally intended it to do. And some of the kids came down, testified, and the board rallied around what they were saying. Now, I don't know, there's no way of knowing. Had they not been here, it probably would have been closed, would be my guess. But the board, after listening attentively, rallied around what they were saying, and not only did we keep it open, we changed the direction, the leadership, and it's an entirely different thing today from what it was. And it's something that we can all be really proud of. Obviously, I'm proud of it because it's in my district, but it's open to everybody. It's closer to our kids in the 8th district, but I just want to tell you a little bit more about it here. CMA has transitioned from a career path model to an early college model, due in part to its strengthened partnership with Pellissippi State Community College. Even in the midst of this challenging year, CMA has been able to continue its goal of providing a true college experience for its students and to prepare its new students for how to be successful when the time comes. And I have about 4 achievements here that, if you'll bear with me, I'd like to share with you. During the 2020 fall semester, 641 college credit hours were earned, with 81 dual enrollment students participating, including 85% of the eligible juniors and seniors. In the spring of 21, 101 dual enrollment students are on track to earn 939 credit hours. That includes over a third of the sophomores. And for 2021 school year, that's a total of 1,580 college credit hours spread out over approximately 526 college courses. Now, this is the part that the parents should love. This achievement saved the parents $260,000 in college tuition. And finally, CMA currently has 12 seniors who will be graduating with their associate's degree from Pellissippi the week before they graduate from high school. I hope this positive report and news assures the board that CMA continues to be a good investment as they provide excellent learning opportunities for the students. And I also wish to thank Principal Matt Mosley for providing me with this updated information. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. McMillan. That's great to hear. Very nice. Okay, Mr. Thomas, we'll have the superintendent's report now. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and board members. I'd like to again welcome all of our students and staff back for spring semester that began yesterday. I know that the current environment, many of our students, families, and employees have questions about the district's plan going forward. Let me first say we're working very hard to protect the health and well-being of our school communities, just as we did in the fall. We'll continue to require masks in our building. Everyone who enters a school building must have their temperature checked. We're also continuing cleaning and sanitation protocols that were added prior to the fall semester. We believe these strategies helped us be successful in the fall, and they will allow us to safely provide virtual and in-person instruction during the spring. Of course, the vaccine, the teachers, educators have been moved up on the priority list for the vaccine, so we'll have a plan in place to make sure that all of our educators have the opportunity to get that wish to take the vaccine, and I would encourage them to do so as soon as that can possibly happen. Right now, we don't know for sure in terms of when it will be available. We're looking maybe at the end of February, early March. Hopefully, maybe something will be available earlier than that, but that's what we know right now. And I want to reiterate the importance of following the 5 core actions to mitigate the spread of COVID-19, and those are observe physical distancing, wear a mask in public, practice proper hand washing, clean and sanitize surfaces, and stay home if you're sick. And we need the support of all Knox County residents, so I'm asking that each of us take these steps to help protect our school communities. I'd also like to take a few minutes and speak to the opportunity we have before us to unite as educators and public servants on behalf of our students and schools across the state of Tennessee. Last month, the Board of Education approved its legislative priorities for 2021, and members of the board will be discussing these very critical needs with our legislative delegation on Friday. These include fully funding the BEP, additional funding to increase teacher salaries, and holding educators harmless in the evaluation process this school year. Along with my counterparts in Metro Nashville, Shelby County, and Hamilton County, I had the opportunity to share our needs during yesterday's panel discussion with the House Democratic Caucus. And let me just say thank you to all the members of the Democratic Caucus that met with us virtually yesterday to provide us this opportunity to share with them. And all 4 superintendents of 4 largest school districts had an opportunity to present. Additionally, I and my regional counterparts within the Tennessee Organization of School Superintendents continue to have discussion, share ideas, and strategize on how we can emphasize to lawmakers the urgency to meet the needs of our students in schools across the state. As you're aware, Governor Lee's called for the Tennessee General Assembly to convene for a special legislative session on the 19th of this month, that's less than 2 weeks from now, to address major challenges the state's public schools are facing. For almost a year, this pandemic has created what likely has been the largest disruptions to schools in our nation's history, changing the way we must deliver K-12 education. In Knox County, we anticipate unbudgeted COVID-related costs to exceed $10 million by the end of the school year. These expenditures are primarily due to the purchase of personal protective equipment and the commitment we made to provide a virtual learning option for families. Many of these costs will be recurring. This does not include the $5 to $7 million of anticipated annual costs related to sustaining our one-to-one initiative. And as we get into budget conversations with you, we'll talk more about that. But $5 to $7 million of recurring costs just to sustain the one-to-one initiative, which I'm sure is going to stay in place once the pandemic is over, and certainly, again, thankful to the board and the county commission and also the federal dollars that came through the CARES Act for allowing us to become a one-to-one school district. But we're in an educational crisis now more than ever, and we're asking our governor and state legislature to make the education of our students a top priority. As a board, we're asking our state legislative bodies to determine the full impact on public school systems with respect to any and all proposed legislation for the upcoming year. This is vitally important as we urge the Tennessee General Assembly to hold harmless reductions in student enrollment such that BEP funding will not be negatively impacted. Since average daily membership is the primary component which generates state education funding, Knox County schools could stand to lose almost $8 million of BEP funding absent any hold harmless provision. Coupled with the growing budgetary needs resulting from the pandemic, this could be crippling to the academic success of our students. And just to put that in perspective, we compared the third 20-day enrollment period, membership period of last year with the third period this year, and we were down about 2,200 students from the same membership period from last year. So again, that could equate to about $8 million of lost funding absent of a hold harmless provision. The need for student interventions is urgent. Currently, the state funds only 41% of our costs related to intervention teachers and coaches, a gap of approximately $1.2 million that has to be covered through a combination of local and federal funding. We anticipate this to widen as the need for enhanced student intervention programs continues to grow. The funding gap is even worse when it comes to school nurses, positions especially vital now considering the state of the pandemic. In real funding, which means adjusted for the BEP fiscal capacity component, money from the state provides one school nurse for every 4,500 students in Knox County. However, the National Association of Nurses, the CDC, the American Association of Pediatrics recommends a nurse for every 750 students. To fully fund these positions, the state would need to provide about $3.6 million more to Knox County. We're also keenly aware of the growing need for student mental health supports, and one of our board's legislative priorities is to seek additional funding in this area. For instance, the funding gap for school psychologists alone is around $2.5 million and growing. We have additional concerns with respect to inadequate resources for guidance counselors and social workers. For example, in real dollars, the state provides, through the BEP formula, one guidance counselor for every 790 students in Knox County schools. The American School Counselor Association recommends one guidance counselor for every 250 students. To fully fund these positions, the state would need to provide roughly $11.5 million more dollars to Knox County schools. Likewise, in real dollars, the state funds one social worker for every 3,700 students in Knox County schools. The National Association of Social Workers recommends one social worker for every 250 students. To fully fund these positions, the state would need to provide an additional $16 million more through the BEP formula. A similar dynamic occurs with funding our teaching positions. In real dollars, the state funds roughly half of our 4,000 teachers in our general operating budget. Obviously, we need significantly more state funding in this area. Over the coming weeks and months, the Tennessee General Assembly will have the opportunity to unite on behalf of the 960,000 public school students and their families across the state to send a clear message that Tennesseans prioritize the education of our children and youth. Research is clear that there is a correlation between educational attainment and quality of life. The future of our community and the future of our state is only as successful as our students. We realize that education is not the only issue that Governor Lee and our legislators will be contemplating, but we urge all of them to make decisions that will provide much needed financial resources to all school districts across the state of Tennessee. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. We have questions. Ms. Babb?
Yeah, I do have a question for you, and it's I thank you for that whole update about the finances, but this is about the vaccination, because we talk about educators, and I'm hoping that that is a broader vaccination program that will deal with custodians, food service workers, and I don't know if that's been made clear or not, or if we even know, but I hope that we can push that everyone that's actually in the school on a regular basis is able to get vaccinated.
And I think that a great point, great question. I think what the wording reads, and I'll look to Scott for this, but all staff, Scott, is that? That's correct. So which would include what we would encourage to happen, I guess, is all staff, including the custodial staff and teacher assistants and everyone have that opportunity to receive the vaccination.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Watson?
Superintendent Thomas, I can validate that. I was on a call today with Michelle Pfizer, who's the doctor who's overseeing the plan for Tennessee, and she made that very point, that it is anybody who's interacting within the schools. So I think that's great that that's part of the plan, and that teachers and staff have been elevated up to 1B, which she also gave a rough timeline of that. Of course, there's no promises, but it seems like that could come as early as late February and early March in terms of timing of that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Watson. Yeah. Appreciate you making sure that we have the correct information, so thank you.
Well, Superintendent Thomas, I have another question for you, and it's really related to the decision to move back to in-person instruction. We all know, if anybody's been following the news and what's been happening locally and what's been happening in our health department, you can't look very far without seeing people say, rightfully so for a period, that Knox County's potentially the worst county in the world in terms of COVID cases. And, that's shifted and ebbed and flowed, and I think there's 3 more now in other parts of the country that are worse than us. And we also know that the last time that this board met, the decision was made right prior to it to move to a week of virtual instruction.